G'day, Shane Dowling here from kangaroocourtofaustralia.com. Now on Monday night, the 11th of October, Media Watch host Paul Barry did a bit of a hit piece on me, accused me of publishing defamatory material. But it was only a personal rant because he didn't identify my website, he didn't identify the particular articles, nor was I given an opportunity to respond or comment. So this is my opportunity to respond now, but before I do, let's have a listen to what Paul Barry said.
And if politicians have to go after individual trolls, there are thousands to deal with, many have next to no money, and some will never pipe down.
G'day, Shane Dowling here. Now I just want to do a quick video on the real reasons New South Wales Deputy Premier John Barilaro has resigned.
Shane Dowling's been sued for defamation several times, jailed twice for criminal contempt, and now faces a third stint in the clanger after setting up anonymous websites to publish defamatory material on Kerry Stokes and his business interests. And even though much of what he puts on his site is defamatory nonsense, he keeps on publishing it. So, don't believe politicians who tell you trolls can be stopped.
Now, with what Paul Barry said, quoting that I've previously been jailed and there's a arrest warrant out for me again, and I apparently defamed Kerry Stokes or his associated companies, Paul Barry could have quoted a number of articles that I've written and published in recent weeks to get my side of the story without needing to approach me. But he failed to do that. Well, like I said, he failed to identify the website. So let's have a listen to a video that I published on the 5th of September. G'day, Shane Dowling here from kangaroocourtofaustralia.com. Now, an arrest warrant has been issued for my arrest by the New South Wales Supreme Court. I've just published an article on it on 5th of September, giving some of the broad details. Now, the contempt proceeding wasn't instituted by the court, it was instituted by Kerry Stokes Channel 7 and their parent company, 7 West Media. They've been stalking me, in effect, for a number of years, running multiple slap lawsuits against me, trying to silence me in relation to writing about corruption by Kerry Stokes and Channel 7. Kerry Stokes has a long history of running those sorts of lawsuits, so I'm not just the only one. Now, if you go to my website, Kangaroo Court of Australia, on the 5th of September, Sunday, I published an article with those details, giving my side of the story. As it currently stands, I'm in Queensland. I applied to have the matter transferred to Queensland a number of times. They refused, and Channel 7 and Kerry Stokes argued against it being transferred to Queensland as well, which is scandalous. I've been up in Queensland since November 2019, and they could have transferred it easily. But when they got the judges in their hip pocket down in New South Wales, they're obviously keen to keep it there. Channel 7 Kerry Stokes, that is. Now, I run a judicial corruption website. I've named 10, 15, 20 judges in the New South Wales Supreme Court, accusing them of corruption, given the evidence, some of it's video evidence. I was never going to get a fair trial in New South Wales. I was actually run out of the state because the court in itself made a couple of complaints to the police, frivolous and vexatious, so I needed to move out of New South Wales. But the details are in the article on my website, so you can visit the website and get those details yourself. Well, Paul Barry could have quoted from an article I published on the 9th of September, so let's have a bit of a read of that. Now, the article's titled Seven's Directors Kerry Stokes, Ryan Stokes, James Warburton and Bruce McWilliam caught lying to the media about stitching up journalist Shane Dowling for jail. And it starts off, 7 West Media's directors have been caught lying to the media about Seven's involvement in having journalist Shane Dowling stitched up for 10 months jail. Bruce McWilliam, as per the below email to the True Crimes News Weekly website, which McWilliam CC'd to Kerry Stokes, Ryan Stokes and 7 West Media CEO James Warburton, claimed 7 were not a party to the proceedings, so they could not comment, which is a blatant lie. The reason for the lie is unknown, but they are obviously very worried. For directors of a publicly listed company to make deliberately false public statements would have to be a breach of their fiduciary duties, and is something the Australian Communications and Media Authority, ACMA, and Australian Securities and Investments Commission, ASIC, should be looking at. And I suspect shareholders and advertisers would be very concerned as well. I wrote on Sunday the 5th of September 2021 in an article titled arrest warrant issued for Queensland journalist Shane Dowling by the New South Wales Supreme Court on behalf of Kerry, Stokes, 7 Network and 7 West Media. Journalist Shane Dowling has been sentenced to 10 months jail by Justice Kerry, reasoned the Supreme Court of New South Wales on the instructions of Kerry, Stokes, 7 Network and its parent company 7 West Media. This is the third time Kerry, Stokes, 7 have had journalist Shane Dowling charged with contempt. The first time backfired badly, and Stokes and 7 have had a lot to answer for. But when an old media company is having new media journalists jailed, all media should be asking some serious questions. Now, Paul Barry could have easily quoted from that video and the 2 articles I wrote on the matter to get my side of the story in relation to the jailing and also Kerry, Stokes and 7 Network. But he failed to do that. He failed to quote from those articles or the video. So at the very least he could have done is approach me. If he had quoted from the videos and the article and referenced them, there probably would have been no need to quote to approach me, because he'd already have the a reasonable amount of the story, and he could reference it and allow the viewers to make up their own mind. But he didn't do that. He didn't even name my website. And another thing he didn't do is reference 2 articles I'd written about Media Watch and Mr. Barry in the last 12 months. So let's have a look at those 2 articles he failed to reference, because if you read those 2 articles you get to understand why he did a hit piece on me. It was obviously payback. He didn't like those 2 articles at all. So let's have a look at them. Now, the first article I published in November 2020, and it's titled ABC's Media Watch and host Paul Barry to try to rebirth the reputation of disgraced Cardinal George Pell. Now, it starts off, ABC's Media Watch and host Paul Barry posted a story which was clearly and deliberately biased in favour of Cardinal George Pell, and I have no doubt it was an attempt to rebirth Pell's severely tarnished reputation. I emailed a complaint to Media Watch and received a response as per below, and then escalated the issue to a formal response to the ABC, which I've never heard back from them, quite incidentally. Now, the story was in breach of the AB's charter, which says the ABC is meant to be impartial and present a diversity of perspectives. Now, in that particular story, they questioned why an ABC journalist used the term disgraced cardinal. Now, that's outlined in the email I sent to him, which is in the article, and I'll read that out. Now, that email is sent on the 12th of November 2020, and I say, Dear Sir, Madam, I would like to make a formal complaint regarding Media Watch's blatantly biased reporting on George Pell, which was broadcast on Twitter and your website in the Media Bite segment on the 5th of November 2020. Media Watch host Paul Barry attacked the ABC for referring to George Pell as a disgraced cardinal, which Mr. Barry said the ABC had now apologised given Pell's convictions were overturned by the High Court of Australia. But George Pell is a disgraced cardinal, given the Royal Commission into Institutional Responses into Child Sexual Abuse found that George Pell's evidence in the witness stand under oath was implausible, inconceivable or not tenable in relation to his involvement in covering up pedophile priests and moving them from parish to parish where they abused more children, etc. Given the Royal Commission found George Pell's evidence in numerous instances was implausible, inconceivable or not tenable, it is easily arguable that it means George Pell committed perjury as well. But Media Watch's Paul Barry made no mention of the Royal Commission's findings about Pell, which shows Paul Barry was not balanced and is in effect trying to rebirth George Pell's reputation by deliberately failing to acknowledge the findings of the Royal Commission, which when discussing Pell's reputation. The information on George Pell and the Royal Commission findings on him generated widespread media reporting in May 2020, which was also reported widely by the ABC, so it's not believable that Paul Barry and staff at Media Watch did not know about it. Many survivors watching the show would have felt disgusted in the blatant bias of Media Watch and Paul Barry. Now, it must be noted that the ABC itself in recent times have published new allegations against George Pell in relation to him abusing children. Those allegations have gone unchallenged, at least from a defamation viewpoint. So that's further evidence of why it's more than fair and reasonable to accuse George Pell of being a disgraced cardinal. And it's not something that Paul Barry should have stuck his nose into if the ABC journalist is calling him a disgraced cardinal, because that's more than fair and reasonable to do that based on the Royal Commission findings. Now, the second article was published in June 2021 and is titled, "Did 68-year-old magistrate Rodney Higgins murder his 23-year-old lover Ashley Petrie so he could claim her $180,000 death benefit?" Now, what the exact situation is there is unknown, but it's very dodgy to say the least. And the article starts off, "Magistrate Rodney Higgins, who's clearly unfit to be a magistrate, has in fact stolen $180,000 superannuation death benefit of his deceased former partner Ashley Petrie. That should have gone to Miss Petrie's mother. This fact, put together with conflicting evidence given to Media Watch show that was aired on the 4th of November 2019, as per the below video, has to raise the real possibility that Magistrate Rodney Higgins could have murdered Ashley Petrie or had some involvement in her death." Now, I go on to say in the article after the video, and it says, on the side note, Paul Barry attacked the media in the story, which is fine. But why was he so soft on Magistrate Rodney Higgins? Paul Barry also needs to explain why he didn't a story on a predator like Rodney Higgins having a sexual relationship with a young female staff member, then ending the Media Watch show with a quote from sexual predator Alan Jones, who has been having a sexual relationship with his young female employee for numerous years. I published an article in March 2020 titled, "Alan Jones' 22-year-old boyfriend, Jake Thrupp, sends a legal threat to a journalist," which was me. Now, there's a lot of unanswered questions in relation to Rodney Higgins. Back in 2019, for whatever reason, Paul Barry did a very soft interview with Rodney Higgins, and I found it quite putrid, especially when he ended the interview with Alan Jones, who's a well-known sexual predator and has had pedophile allegations made against him that have gone unchallenged. Now, Paul Barry had an obligation on Monday night to declare that he was aware of those two articles before he went on a personal tirade against me, because what it shows is that he's sort of concealing information from his own viewers. I think his viewers would be very interested in the fact that I've written those two articles, very critical of Mr. Barry and very critical of Media Watch, and then he's gone on to declare I'm writing defamatory material, but he's failed to produce any particular article, and he's failed to give me an opportunity to respond. Now, I'll publish another article on this issue on Sunday the 17th of October. It'll have a lot more detail, a lot more links, so make sure you visit my website, Kangaroo Court of Australia, and read that article. And also make sure you share this video via Facebook, Twitter, and also other social media. And if you do visit my website, you can sign up for the free email notification. And every time I publish a new article, which is normally a couple of times a week, you'll be notified immediately there's a new article on there. And make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel. And other than that, thank you for your time and have a good day.